You learned early how to disappear without leaving the room. Not physically, emotionally. You learned how to watch instead of speak, how to read faces before reading books, how to measure the room before measuring yourself. And somewhere along the way, people started calling you intelligent for it. They admired your calm, your restraint, your silence. But no one asked what it cost you. Because here's the paradox no one talks about. The behavior that once protected you may now be quietly shrinking your life. You were praised for being wise beyond your years. But wisdom was never the goal. Safety was. You stayed quiet not because you had nothing to say, but because speaking once hurt too much. And now, as an adult, you're caught in a strange contradiction. You see everything. You understand everyone, but you struggle to feel seen. You sit in conversations knowing exactly what's happening beneath the words. The power dynamics, the unspoken tension, the emotional subtext. Yet your own truth stays locked behind your teeth. And the world mistakes this silence for the highest form of intelligence. But intelligence that requires self-erasure is not wisdom. It's a coping strategy. And today, we're going to dismantle that illusion. Because real intelligence does not disappear to survive. It expands without abandoning itself. To understand why silence is so often misread as intelligence, we need to talk about how the mind adapts under emotional pressure. Let's start here. 1. Hypervigilance. Hypervigilance is not awareness. It is threat detection masquerading as insight. When a child grows up in an environment where emotions are unpredictable, dismissed, or punished, the nervous system adapts by scanning constantly. You didn't become observant because you were curious. You became observant because missing a signal felt dangerous. Your brain learned. Read the room. Track tone changes. Anticipate reactions. Stay one step ahead. Neurologically, this keeps the amygdala overactive and the body locked in a low-grade stress response. From the outside, it looks like composure. From the inside, it feels like never fully resting. 2. Emotional neglect schema. Not abuse, not chaos, but absence. Emotional neglect teaches you that your inner world is irrelevant. No one mirrored your feelings back to you. No one lingered with your emotional experiences. So your psyche learned. My needs are too much. My voice is unnecessary. This creates an internal schema where expression feels indulgent, silence feels responsible, self-erasure feels mature. Again, mistaken for intelligence. 3. Avoidant attachment. Avoidant attachment isn't about not wanting connection. It's about not trusting it to be safe. You learn to rely on your mind instead of others, to process internally, to detach instead of engage. Silence becomes armor. Autonomy becomes identity. Distance becomes dignity. And yes, you become articulate, perceptive, intellectually sharp. But relationally, something goes missing. Your intelligence evolved as a shield, not a bridge. Carl Jung once wrote, "What we do not bring to consciousness appears in our lives as fate." And here is the invisible grief of the silent, intelligent mind. You sacrificed aliveness for acceptability. You traded spontaneity for control, expression for precision, messy truth for polished restraint. And you were rewarded for it. But grief doesn't disappear just because it's socially approved. It becomes quiet, subtle, private. You feel it when you rehearse sentences in your head, but never say them. You minimize your needs without noticing. You feel deeply, yet show very little. The core fear underneath all of this is simple and devastating. If I am fully seen, I will be rejected. So even joy becomes regulated. Anger becomes intellectualized. Sadness becomes poetic, but not shared. Seneca warned that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. But for you, suffering didn't come from imagination. It came from suppression, from living half expressed, half felt, half lived. And the tragedy is not that you were silent. It's that the world told you this silence meant you were whole. These patterns don't disappear with age. They mature. They become refined, socially acceptable, harder to detect. You might recognize yourself here. Relationships. You might attract emotionally intense partners while staying emotionally distant. Become the understanding one who rarely feels understood. Struggle to ask for reassurance, even when you need it. You don't lack depth. You lack permission. Career. You might excel in analytical or strategic roles. Be seen as reliable, calm, competent. Avoid visibility, leadership, or self-promotion despite capability. You confuse humility with hiding. Self-worth. You might tie your value to usefulness. Feel uneasy receiving care. Downplay achievements reflexively. Praise makes you uncomfortable because it invites attention. Boundaries. You might say it's fine when it isn't. Absorb emotional labor quietly. Resent people silently rather than assert needs. Silence becomes self-betrayal disguised as peace. Emotional regulation. You don't explode. You dissolve. You numb. You detach. You intellectualize feelings instead of inhabiting them. Internal identity. You don't fully know who you are, only who you are useful as. But here's the crucial reframe. These are not personality traits. They are adaptations. And adaptations can be unlearned, not through force, but through witnessing. Healing does not mean becoming louder. It means becoming truer. 1. Inner child reparenting. Begin by validating what was never validated. Speak internally in the tone you needed. You make sense. You're allowed to take up space. You don't have to earn presence. Safety comes before expression. 2. Shadow work. Your silence holds anger, desire, grief, power. Bring these into awareness without judgment. The shadow is not evil. It is exiled life force. 3. Nervous system regulation. Silence trained your nervous system to stay alert. Healing requires teaching it rest, slow breathing, body-based awareness, allowing emotion without interpretation. Your body must learn that expression is no longer dangerous. 4. Choosing softness over survival. Start small. 1 honest sentence. 1 boundary. 1 unfiltered emotion. Not to prove anything, but to reclaim yourself. Rainer Maria Rilke once wrote, "Live the questions now. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to abandon intelligence. You need to stop confusing disappearance with wisdom. Because the goal is not to be fixed. It is to become whole." And if this resonated with you, if it names something you've always felt but never articulated, share it with someone who learned to survive quietly. And subscribe, not for noise, but for depth. Because true intelligence does not hide. It integrates.